Setting: Orbitora Prime, a luxury space station resort orbiting the planet Helion 6. Young, curious Zara Myles, an engineering student from the desolate colony of Arkandun, agrees to cover her Aunt Rima's late-night janitorial shift aboard the Orbitora Prime. Aunt Rima is sick, and Zara's family desperately needs the credits. Zara has no clue that this simple cleaning task will thrust her into a web of cosmic secrets, tech espionage, and mistaken identity. Zara Myles had never been off her dusty home world of Arkandun, a mining colony buried under layers of red sandstorms and broken dreams. So when her Aunt Rima begged her to cover a single janitorial shift on Orbitora Prime, a luxury space station orbiting the glittering planet Helion 6, she didn't hesitate. The credits were good, more than they usually earned in a month. Besides, how hard could sweeping floors in zero-gravity be? The shuttle ride alone felt like stepping into someone else's dream. As the transport cruised through layers of glowing nebulae, Zara sat wide-eyed, her calloused fingers gripping the edge of her seat. The others aboard wore shimmering suits, spoke in sleek core dialects, and smelled like imported stardust. She, on the other hand, wore her aunt's oversized uniform and clutched a dented cleaning scanner that barely held a charge. When Orbitora Prime came into view, it looked like a floating palace sculpted from chrome and crystal. Dozens of ring-shaped modules rotated in rhythm, generating artificial gravity and casting prismatic reflections across the black sea of space. Zara swallowed hard. This wasn't like the grainy vids she watched on cracked screens back home. This was real. This was alive. As she stepped out onto Deck 12 through the service bay, a sleek silver bracelet locked around her wrist. Temporary access granted. The bracelet chirped in a polite AI voice. She followed the blinking blue line on the floor to a maintenance station where a bored android handed her a cart full of supplies and a schedule. One of her tasks glowed ominously. Platinum Lounge, 1 o'clock. Galactic Standard Time. Aunt Rima had warned her, don't mess up in the Platinum Lounge, that's where the rich breathe. She tried not to gawk as she entered. The lounge was unlike anything she'd seen. Curved walls of living crystal, floating lounge pods, holographic waterfalls, and floors made of programmable light. Music played directly into the bones, gentle cosmic vibrations that soothed the soul. She moved cautiously, pushing the cart like it was sacred cargo, trying to clean without touching anything. That's when everything changed. She was adjusting a floating glass tray of empty drink capsules when she noticed a small shimmer out of the corner of her eye. Hanging near the holobar was a velvet garment bag left behind on a hover chair. Curiosity burned through her caution. Inside was a breathtaking cloak, deep blue with silver neurothread embroidery that pulsed like stars. Without thinking, she draped it around her shoulders, just for a moment, just to see. That's when the doors hissed open. In walked a tall figure wearing a coat of living nanofiber scale Virex, heir to the Virex Industries fortune and the mind behind the revolutionary NeuroVault project. He froze when he saw her, eyes flicking to the cloak, then to her face. Zara panicked, ready to explain, ready to be fired and thrown back to Arkandun in shame. But Kale's expression softened into a smile. You're early, he said warmly, walking toward her. I didn't expect the Helion ambassador's daughter to arrive before the security sweep. I like that. Shows confidence. Zara blinked. I'm sorry, no need to be, Kale interrupted, offering his hand. Kale Varix, you're just in time. I'd like to show you something. Something very few people have ever seen. He gestured for her to follow. Her heart pounded. She should have told the truth. She should have corrected him. But instead, she nodded, stunned, and stepped into the unknown. Behind her, the cloak shimmered. The AI bracelet around her wrist updated silently. New role, VIP guest, security clearance, level Thadon, just like that. Zara, Myles' janitor's niece, from a forgotten desert moon, was no longer invisible. She was someone else entirely. 2/2 Zara followed Kale Vorex down a long, curved corridor lined with light-reactive tiles. Each step they took triggered a cascade of gentle blue ripples beneath their feet. Her heart thundered in her chest. She felt like an imposter walking through a dream. Only this dream had sharp edges and a chance to shatter at any second. Kale moved with the ease of someone who had grown up in the luxury of orbiting cities and moonbound estates. His coat, alive with microscopic processors, adjusted to the ambient lighting, casting a faint silver glow around him. He glanced over his shoulder at her and smiled again, easy, friendly, confident. The kind of smile that opened doors. The kind of smile that mistook janitors for dignitaries. I hope the cloak fits, he said. We had it made in anticipation of your arrival. It's tuned to respond to your biosignature well, the one we were given, but it seems to have synced nicely with you. Zara forced a smile, unsure of what to say. The cloak had simply been lying there. She hadn't known it was meant for anyone. She hadn't known it would trigger this mess. You're quieter than I expected, Kale continued as they entered. A private lift pod. But I like that. Most people in your position are all talk and no depth. But you carry silence like it means something. Zara had to bite her tongue to keep from blurting out the truth. She wasn't a diplomat's daughter. She was a substitute janitor from a sand-choked mining colony where people still boiled water by hand. But something about Kale's tone made her hesitate. He wasn't being fake. He genuinely believed she was someone important. He respected her for it. The lift stopped with a soft chime, and the doors slid open to reveal a vast chamber filled with suspended crystalline structures. Dozens of them floated mid-air, connected by thin golden threads of energy. Holographic interfaces spun gently around the formations, data flickering across them in alien scripts and Terran code. This, Kale said with a gleam in his eye, is the NeuroVault interface core. Zara's breath caught. She had read about the NeuroVault in underground data feeds, smuggled through illegal networks back on Arkandun. It was said to be the most advanced neural sync technology ever conceived, a way to bridge thought and machine, allowing a pilot to control systems through sheer intent. But this was more than she imagined. Kale moved to a console and brought up a rotating projection of a human brain entangled in flowing lines of starlight. We're trying to make human intuition the primary navigational interface for deep space travel, ships that fly as an extension of thought, weapons that respond to reflex. Even entire planetary systems that can be managed by a single person, provided their neural architecture is advanced enough. He turned to her. And that's where you come in. Zara's throat went dry. Your neural profile. Provided in advance, he said, tapping on the console. is almost impossibly compatible with the vault's architecture. The ambassador's daughter, bred from generations of cognitive refinement. Of course you'd be a match. You're practically born for this. Zara's mind reeled. Someone else's identity, someone else's DNA, was being attributed to her. But Cale wasn't doubting her. He was admiring her, trusting her. Before she could respond, a glowing interface floated toward her, a gentle whisper humming in her ears. Sync request initiated. Do you accept? Cale looked at her expectantly. This is just a preliminary link, low exposure, no data locks. Think of it as a handshake between you and the vault. Zara stared at the floating interface. If she said no, the whole lie would unravel. If she said yes, she was risking far more than exposure. She was risking her mind. But something deeper stirred in her. A sensation that this wasn't just chance. That somehow, this mistake had a purpose. She nodded slowly. The interface slid forward and settled gently against her temple, and everything changed the moment the interface touched her skin. Zara felt a sudden pull, not physical but mental, like a door inside her mind had been unlatched. A warm wave of static crawled across her scalp, followed by a strange clarity, as though all the noise in her brain had been swept away, leaving only silence and light. Her eyes fluttered shut as the NeuroVault gently synced with her thoughts. At first, she expected pain, maybe dizziness, but instead, a series of images flowed across her consciousness, schematics, symbols, constellations she'd never seen before. It was like dreaming with her eyes wide open, but in someone else's language. She stood completely still, the cloak humming softly around her, its neural thread embroidery responding to her changing brainwaves. Cale watched, his expression unreadable. You're sinking faster than our simulations predicted. Incredible. Zara opened her eyes slowly, the glowing interface now hovering beside her like a curious pet. I saw things, maps, systems, equations. Good, Cale said with quiet awe. That's the vault, recognizing you. Not just your brain, your instincts. It's why we were so eager for your arrival. Most participants need days just to access the preliminary layer. You're already inside. He gestured toward a platform in the center of the chamber. Zara stepped up cautiously, and the platform pulsed beneath her feet, responding to her presence. A projection of a starship appeared, elegant and sleek, with neural arteries drawn through its framework like veins through a body. This is the prototype we're building the vault to control, Cale explained. A living ship, partially grown, partially built. Think something, and the ship upazeth your brain.
Fly, the word whispered itself across her mind, and instantly the ship surged forward, dancing through constellations like a swallow in the wind. Her heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of the craft. She looped around comets, skimmed the corona of a burning gas giant, and dove into warp as easily as breathing. When she came out of the simulation, she staggered slightly, overwhelmed. Cale caught her gently. You flew it, he said. You flew the simulation on your first sync. That's unprecedented. Zara was panting, her eyes wide. It felt alive. It is, Cale said, more serious now, and it's choosing you. For a moment, she forgot she was pretending. She forgot the borrowed cloak, the fake name, the lie she hadn't corrected. In that instant, she believed, it believed that somehow she belonged here, But that moment was short-lived. As the chamber dimmed back into idle mode, Cale turned to one of his assistants, a tall woman with synthetic eyes. "Send the results." To command. "We may have found our pilot." Zara stiffened. Command. Pilot. She was in too deep now. If they found out she wasn't who they thought she was, would they erase her memories, or worse? But then a new fear crept in, one more terrifying than exposure. What if this technology was more dangerous than anyone realized? What if she wasn't the one being tested? What if she was the test? Zara sat alone in the observation chamber hours later, staring through a glass wall at the swirling storm of a gas giant below. Helion 6 was beautiful gold and amethyst clouds in perpetual motion, but her thoughts were spinning faster. The NeuroVault interface had been removed, yet something remained. A presence. A resonance. Her mind didn't feel like it had before, since. Syncing with the system, she'd been experiencing flashes, brief, disjointed glimpses of places she had never been. Cities built inside asteroid shells. A woman's voice, urgent and unfamiliar, calling her name through static. Binary code dancing behind her eyelids when she closed her eyes. None of it made sense, but the feelings were real. To real. Cale had said nothing afterward. He had only nodded with strange satisfaction, as if confirming a theory. He'd left her to rest, but resting was impossible. Something in her had been unlocked. When she touched the wall, her fingers sparked a small ripple of light, and a flood of memory not hers rushed through her. A starship caught in a gravity trap, a countdown in 7 languages, and a man screaming. Her name not Zara, but Zara. Before vanishing into darkness, she jerked her hand back. What was happening to her? Footsteps approached. The door slid open with a sigh, and an older woman entered, tall, silver-skinned, wearing the insignia of the Vault's Senior Research Division. She introduced herself as Dr. Vela Rune, lead neural geneticist. "We ran your post-sync data," Rune said calmly, yet her gaze was sharp. "Your connection to the Vault is not just compatible, it's recursive. The system is reflecting fragments of stored ancestral memory." Zara frowned. "You mean, like, I'm remembering my family?" Rune nodded slowly. "Not your recent lineage. These aren't memories from your parents or even great-grandparents. These are ancient, buried in dormant genetic code, locked for centuries until the Vault stimulated them. That shouldn't be possible, not unless you're from one of the founder lines." "Founder lines," Zara echoed. Rune turned to the holographic display, summoning an image of a symbol, a neural spiral wrapped in 7 orbiting lights. Before the Federation, before even the first AI wars, a group of neural architects seeded their consciousness into bloodlines. They believed genetic memory could preserve leadership across generations. These bloodlines were thought to be lost. But your brain patterns show the markers. Zara stepped back, her pulse racing. I'm not part of any ancient bloodline. I'm from Arkandun. My aunt scrubs floors." Rune raised a brow. "Then someone in your ancestry wasn't who they said they were." It felt like her world was tilting sideways. Could it be true? Could her mother, who died when she was a child, have carried secrets? Even her aunt didn't know. Zara's head throbbed. Another vision flared behind her eyes, standing at the edge of a luminous cliff, watching an enormous archive orb rise from an ocean of stars. A whisper drifted through her skull like wind. "The mirror is waking." She clutched her temples. Rune narrowed her eyes. "What did you see?" "I don't know." Zara's voice was hoarse. "It's like a door has opened inside me, and everything is trying to get through." Rune moved closer. You are not just compatible with the vault you may be, it's key. It's pulling data from your very DNA, data we didn't know still existed. That changes everything. Before Zara could reply, alarms blared across the station. Red light bathed the corridor outside the glass. A voice announced through the intercom. Incoming transport. Platinum class diplomatic vessel. Identity confirmation. Ambassadorial. Delegate Zara Myles. Security level Omega. Zara froze. Zara, the name from the vision. The name the man had screamed. The name she now realized was hers, or more terrifyingly, a version of her, and she had just arrived. The moment the announcement echoed through the station, Zara felt the air shift. It was like the room itself tightened, bracing for impact. Her breath caught in her throat. Zara Myles. The name rang in her skull like a bell, sharp and undeniable. It was the name she'd heard in visions now, confirmed in terrifying reality. Someone with her name, her face, her genetic signature, was arriving. Security agents in obsidian armor swept past the glass wall. Weapons holstered but ready, their boots hitting the metal floor in perfect unison. Dr. Rune was already tapping into the console, pulling up the incoming vessel's specs. Zara stared at the projection. A sleek diplomatic ship, edged in chrome and midnight black, tagged with a level Omega clearance, the highest reserved for galactic royalty, sovereign weapons engineers, or planetary-level negotiators. Kale appeared. Behind them, his face a mixture of shock and something Zara couldn't quite read. Worry, maybe, or awe. The ambassador's daughter, he said slowly, but you're already here. Dr. Rune didn't speak. She simply turned to Zara, studying her now as if she were a riddle rather than a person. Zara's mind reeled. She couldn't breathe. I don't understand. That can't be me. But she knew it was. The door slid open again and in walked the other her. The resemblance was eerie. The same eyes, the same cheekbones, the same wild hair pulled back in a sharp braid. But this woman Zarite carried herself like a blade. Her eyes were colder, her posture trained and rigid. 2 guards flanked her, both wearing the golden sunburst sigil of the Helion diplomatic corps. Zara couldn't move. It was like watching her own reflection step out of a mirror and take control of the room. Zarai's eyes landed on her immediately. So, she said, voice low and calm, this is the glitch. Kale stepped between them. There must be an explanation. The system there is, Zarai interrupted. This girl's wearing my access cloak, standing in my chamber, syncing with my ship. Zara opened her mouth to speak, to confess the truth, but her throat closed. Not just from fear, from something deeper. A memory. A wordless ancient warning rising from within her. Zarai took a step forward, her gaze narrowing. Where did you get that bracelet? Zara looked down. The security bracelet still glowed softly on her wrist. She hadn't even noticed it adjusting. Again, new data blinked on its surface. Status, conflict, detected identity clash, genetic, match, 99.9997%, requesting resolution, protocol. Kale frowned. You share identical markers, but that's impossible. Even clones degrade after 94% match rates. She's not a clone, Zarai said. She's from the mirror. Rune stiffened. The mirror project was shut down. No, Zarai cut in. It went dark, not dead. And apparently, someone let the Dust World version of me slip through. The cracks. Zara finally found her voice. I didn't know. I'm not trying to impersonate you. I just covered my aunt's shift. That's it. I didn't ask for this. Zara studied her for a long moment, then tilted her head slightly. No, you didn't. Which means the vault chose you anyway. Everyone in the room went still. Kale's brow furrowed. Are you saying? The system preferred her over you. Zarai's silence was answer enough. Dr. Rune exhaled. This means the vault recognized a genetic variant more compatible than the original. She may not be the copy. She may be the evolution. Zarai's lips tightened, or the error. For the first time, Zara stepped forward. Maybe I am, but I didn't come here to steal anything. I was just trying to help my family, and somehow I'm part of something bigger now. Zara stared at her for a beat, then turned to Kale. You want to run your vault project? Then let's do it. Side by side. Let's test both versions. Zara felt the blood drain from her face. Kale looked between them and slowly nodded. Two minds, he said, almost in wonder. One ship. Let's see who it listens to. And with that, the vault's greatest experiment truly began.